American way. The American way, I always thought, included, like, comedy and being critical of people in power. I just, you know, Louise and I watched the White House Correspondence Dinner. We've been to 2 of them. And both of them when President Obama was in the White House and was showing up. In fact, we were in the room when Obama basically peeled the skin off Donald Trump. And I think that's the reason that Trump won't come back to the White House Correspondence Dinner. He was so humiliated. Earlier in the evening, Louise had humiliated him down in the Washington Post room by suggesting that he had plugs in the front of his hairline, and then that happened. You know, and then he goes to the main room, and Obama takes him apart. But you know, apparently it's fine if it's the president saying it, but not if it's a female comedian. Is that the deal? I mean, the White House Correspondents Association has now apologized for Michelle Wolf. This is bizarre. They read, last night's program was meant to offer a unifying message about our common commitment to a vigorous and free press, while honoring civility, great reporting, and scholarship winners, not to divide people. What? I thought last night's event, and now it's a couple nights, was meant to celebrate the First Amendment, freedom of speech, the role of the press in holding the rich and powerful accountable. I mean, that was the whole basis of Jefferson's statement that, you know, if he was given a choice between living in a country with a government but no newspapers versus a country where you had no newspapers but no government, he would surely choose newspapers and no government. I mean, it's just... And then they say, unfortunately, the entertainer's monologue was not in the spirit of that mission. Well, if that's your mission, to celebrate civility and scholarship winners, then, you know, take it someplace else. That's not the press's job. The press's job has never been to honor civility. It's been to honor incivility, if anything. You know, what are we saying? What are we doing? This is, you know, and then Christian Christensen tweets, pathetic to see the White House Correspondence Administration cave in and attack the comedian they hired to roast an administration led by a guy who bragged about sexual assault, talked about shooting Muslims with bullets tipped in pig blood, and undermines and attacks the free press on a daily basis. Amen. You know, I think the thing that the press members in the room were really upset about was when Michelle Wolf said, he can't sell steaks or vodka or water or college or ties or Eric, but he has helped you. He's helped you sell your papers and your books and your TV. You helped create this monster, and now you're profiting off him. That was what she said that really upset the people in the room. But I think that there was also a misunderstanding, and maybe I'm wrong on this. You listen to this and tell me what you hear. I thought, both Louise and I thought, in fact, I turned to Louise when Michelle Wolf said this, and I said, whoa, she's going for fat jokes? Sarah Sanders is overweight, and you know, burning fat is a phrase that we're all real familiar with from a zillion TV ads for the last 3 decades or more. And that's what I thought she said. And I think that a lot of people thought she said that, and that was the initial blowback for, oh, really? You're going after Sarah Sanders' appearance? When in fact she said something quite different. Here is Michelle Wolf in that routine night before last.
And of course we have Sarah Huckabee Sanders. We are graced with Sarah's presence tonight. I actually really like Sarah. I think she's very resourceful. Like, she burns facts, and then she uses that ash to create a perfect smoky eye. Like, maybe she's born with it. Maybe it's lies. It's probably lies.
Yeah, and Sarah Sanders is famously a liar. I mean, this isn't even in contention. It's not even in dispute. Sarah Sanders, you know, routinely goes out and lies on behalf of the Trump administration. And so then Michelle Wolf says she burns facts, F-A-C-T-S, which many of us heard as burns fat. Or maybe not. Maybe it was just Louise and me. I don't know. I tweeted about it, and so the first tweet back was, you know, I said, it sounded to me like she said Burns fat, and the first tweet back was somebody who said, yeah, a friend of mine called right after the Correspondence dinner and said, she's fat shaming? And of course she wasn't doing that. She wouldn't do that. She was making a joke about how Sarah Sanders, you know, the old phrase was, you know, give them the stink eye, right? You know, it's like, you know, look somebody in the eye and trash them with a smile, or look somebody in the eye and lie while you're talking to them. And, you know, that is what I saw, you know, broadly speaking. Now, the other thing that we need to remember, and I tweeted about this too, is that in brutal kingdoms, right, in the kingdoms of Europe throughout the Dark Ages and the Middle Ages, there was a role in the court of court jester. And out of this came modern comedy. Now, the court jester, the king realized, and sometimes the queen, but typically the king, realized that if he didn't know what was actually going on out in the streets, if he just lived in his little, you know, court and courtiers bubble, if he just lived in the bubble of yes men and women who surround him, of his servants and his peers, that he might get so out of touch with what's going on in the rest of the country that he makes decisions that end up producing a revolution. He could lose his job, and he could lose it brutally. He could have his head chopped off. So what the kings did is they installed in their court one person who could tell the truth, and could tell the truth without fear of recrimination or punishment. They just had to tell that truth in a slightly disguised way. They had to make it a joke. And that role, that job, was called the court jester. And the court jester actually spoke the truth. And it was an important kind of cultural, political, whatever you want to call it, safety valve. It was a way that the king and the rest of the court could hear what was actually going on, but not feel personally threatened. And that's what we saw at the White House Correspondence Dinner. In the finest tradition of court jesters, you had Michelle Wolf telling the truth about Sarah Sanders, that she's a liar. Saying, you know, hey, she burns facts and she turns it into she takes the ash and makes eyeshadow out of it. Isn't that resourceful? I would say if Michelle Wolf was guilty of anything, it was constructing a joke that operated on 2 or 3 different levels and was relatively subtle, and therefore many people didn't understand it. And in fact, you know, she had to tweet out, hey, you know, wait a minute, I was just talking about how resourceful she was. Rob Reiner tweets, I attended the White House Correspondence Dinner last night. Donald Trump has so poisoned the atmosphere by attacking the disabled, Gold Star parents, Muslims, Mexicans, blacks, women, the press, the rule of law, that a comedian who simply tells the truth is offensive? She's joking. Trump's not. Michelle Wolf tweeted, why are you guys making this about Sarah's looks? I said she burns facts and uses the ash to create a perfect smoky eye. I complimented her eye makeup and her ingenuity of materials. And I tweeted back to Michelle Wolf. Unfortunately, many of us heard that as Burns fat. I suspect many are reacting to that. Michelle did a spectacular job of being the court jester. Let's remember that that role was always protected in kingdoms, as the court jester was the only person who could speak truth to power. And then Danielle Blevins replies to my tweet, first reply to my tweet. She says, a friend called me late Saturday night believing that Wolf had said fat. She was not amused with that. Bingo. Kathy Griffin was tweeting about this at some length. She says, Michelle Wolf took no prisoners last night. She roasted Trump, Pence, White House staffers, the media, and media personalities. She was hired to do a roast. That was her job. She wasn't hired to offer media analysis or be fair and balanced. She was hired to poke fun at powerful people. A comic's job, Kathy Griffin tweets, is to go over the line and then push the line and then go over the line again. She is so right. But this has just, you know, this has turned into all these conservative snowflakes, these poor, pathetic snowflakes. Oh my God, we've got to protect poor Sarah. She's being called a liar. Or she was called fat. I mean, that was not the case, actually. But, you know, oh, they're talking about her appearance. Oh, we can't have that. And her accent? No, it wasn't her accent that she was joking about. It was her complicity. Sarah Sanders.